Greetings, Boogie fans! Michael here, and today I'm going to be going over what I believe to be the best flyer in every single main series Pokemon game. Prior to Gen 7, because from Gen 7 onward, you can't use fly outside of battle, and so there are no flyers. A flyer is exactly what it sounds like. It is a Pokemon whose purpose is to use the move Fly, the HM move used for fast travel. Now, Fly is not necessary to complete any main series Pokemon games, but not having Fly in your party at all times is so incredibly inconvenient that most Pokemon players have a dedicated party member to use Fly. A flyer does not have to be useful in battle. Despite the laws of physics telling us otherwise, a level 3 Pidgey is just as capable of transporting a person around as a level 100 Dragonite. However, my goal is to find the best flyer in every game, which means it's not only capable of transporting you, but it's also gonna be a very valuable member of your battling team. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, since, troublingly, less than half of my viewers are actually subscribed, and let's dive in to what I believe is the best flyer in every main series Pokemon game before Gen 7. First is Gen 1, Red and Blue. Just red and blue, not yellow. You'll see why in a bit. Now, some of you may be thinking that Charizard would be an excellent flyer for these games. After all, it's a starter, it's pretty strong, and it's well known for flying Ash around. However, I am sad to report that if you thought that, you have made a foolish miscalculation. Despite the giant freaking wings, Charizard cannot learn Fly in Red and Blue, one of the many oversights of the original games. We will have to look elsewhere. Some strong candidates are the legendary birds. All of them are very powerful as they are legendary, and all of them can learn Fly. Of the three, I believe Zapdos to be the strongest. Electric Flying is the best type combination of the three, since it doesn't have a 4x weakness like the other two, and actually only has 2 weaknesses total to Rock and Ice. Zapdos has a big drawback though, and that's that you can't get it before you get to Fly. The HM for Fly is obtained on the route just west of Celadon City, which only requires Cut for you to get to, which you will have by this point in the story. The badge required to use Fly is Lieutenant Surge's, who you could have skipped, but most players will not have. So assuming you go straight for Fly after getting out of the rock tunnel and then obtain it, the things that you then have to do before you can get to Zapdos are clear out the rocket hideout, fight through the Pokemon Tower, wake up a Snorlax, traverse to Fuchsia, go through the Safari Zone to get Surf, beat Koga, whose strongest Pokemon is 14 levels higher than Erica's, surf to the power plant, get through it, fight Zapdos, and catch it. Yeah, it's a lot. So while I do think Zapdos is the strongest and most capable Fly user, it would kind of stink to get Fly and then not be able to use it for a while until you get to Zapdos. So I want to recommend a flyer you can use in the interim, or just the one you can use for the rest of the playthrough if you don't want to use legendaries. For the non-legend flyer, I recommend Fearow. Fearow has a very solid 90 base attack and 100 base speed, stats that are not only superior to Pidgeot's, but reached at a far lower level since Spearow evolves at only level 20. The Pidgeot line also doesn't get a flying type attack until Wing Attack for Pidgeotto at 31, while Spearow starts with Peck. Peck is weaker than Wing Attack nowadays, but back in Gen 1, they had the same power, so that's a clear benefit for Spearow over Pidgey. As an extra bonus for Fearow, it gets Drill Peck at level 34. Drill Peck is the strongest flying type move in the game besides Sky Attack, and it's 100% accurate, something neither Fly nor Sky Attack can boast. Fearow is vastly superior to Pidgeot and any other fly-using Pokemon besides the legendary birds, so I recommend using Fearow up until you can get Zapdos, or just continue to use it. Next up is Yellow version, which is in the same situation as Red and Blue, but with one massive change. Charizard can learn Fly now. Not only that, but every single player can get Charizard, not just the ones who choose to start with Charmander. Now, I still think Zapdos is the best flyer, but who should you use before Zapdos? Charizard or Fearow. It's a really close call, but I had to give the edge to Fearow here. Here's why. In the stat department, they have the same speed, while Fearow has slightly better attack. Charizard has much better special to make use of its fire moves. Fearow is a bit frailer than Charizard as well. Charizard has a better base total, but a big reason for that is Fearow's poor special stat, a stat that it doesn't really care about, at least in regards to offense. For me, the stat department is a toss-up. For typing, Charizard has the advantage of being both a good fire type and a good flying type. Fearow is a better flying type thanks to Drill Peck and its better attack, but its normal coverage is less helpful since it can't deal super effective damage. It can take advantage of Hyper Beam though, which in Gen 1 has no recharge if it KOs. Again, another toss-up. But while I think it's a toss-up for these two Pokemon in the stat and typing department, Fearow wins in accessibility. Fearow will be a Fearow and will have access to Fly the instant you get the HM. Charizard can learn Fly, but Charmeleon cannot. And if you go straight for Fly without doing the Rocket Hideout or anything else like that, your team is probably gonna be in the mid-level 20s, which is quite a bit away from the level 36 required to evolve your Charmeleon into Charizard. For Charizard, you'll have to wait, but Fearow, you won't. So once again for yellow, like with red and blue, the best flyer is Zapdos, with Fearow before that. Now on to Generation 2, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. This decision was a lot easier than Gen 1, since the best flyer is not only the best flyer, but it's just one of the best all-around team members. Kenya the Fearow. In my best team member in every game video, where I listed the Pokemon in each game that I thought would be the most valuable for the most playthrough teams, for the Gen 2 games, I named Kenya the Fearow as one of the runners-up to Alakazam. I did that because it has the same benefits it had in Gen 1. Access to Drill Peck and reasonably solid stats and early accessibility. But a benefit Kenya has over other Fearow is that it's a traded Pokemon. Well, not really traded. Some guy asks you to deliver it to his friend and then you just don't. Is it Grand Theft Spearow, or is this guy just dumb for trusting a stranger? Regardless, the end result is that Kenya the Fearow does not have your original trainer value, which means it gets boosted experience. Something that's extremely helpful in the Johto games with really weird level curves for a lot of the boss battles. So combine its boosted experience and the lack of competition from Charizard and Zapdos and all the benefits it had in Gen 1, and you've got a clear-cut winner for the best flyer in the Gen 2 games. Now we can move on to Gen 3, starting with the Hoenn games, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. These games are interesting because Fly comes pretty late, not until you have 6 gym badges. That means our options for Fly users that are available before you get to that point is a lot. While you could go with Swellow, Pelipper, Altaria, Tropius, or Flygon, none of these are the best. In my opinion, the best option is Crobat for multiple reasons. The first is that Crobat has excellent stats, the best base stat total of all of these Pokemon with 535, including blazing speed and respectable 90 attack. Additionally, it's obtainable early, with Zubat being found in Granite Cave before you fight the second gym, and it evolves into the respectable base stat total Golbat at the pleasantly low level of 22. The evolution to Crobat is a friendship evolution, which, as we know, is annoying. Friendship it sucks. But in my opinion, it's worth it, because Zubat gets wing attack at level 21, then becomes Golbat at 22. So you have a decently powered flying type coverage up until getting Fly. Even if for some reason it's not evolved by that point, which I would be genuinely surprised, Golbat can still learn Fly. I should probably mention Salamence and Rayquaza in Emerald are freaking fantastic flyers because they're stupid strong and actually learn Fly by level up, but I have to disqualify them here because you get them way too late. Not until after you have 8 badges. And with Salamence, you have 8 badges and then you have to go find like a level 25 Bagon and level it up all the way to 50. It's just, no, that takes too long. Crobat can fly around right away and contribute a lot in the process. Next up is Fire Red and Leaf Green, the remakes of the Gen 1 games. The only relevant for this video change is that Charizard is no longer accessible to everyone playing the game like it was in Yellow. Only people who pick Charmander can use Charizard. If you pick Charmander, use Charizard as your flyer. But if you don't pick Charmander, Fearow is still the one I recommend the most, with an asterisk saying that you can swap it for Zapdos later because Zapdos is pretty freaking good. Now on to Gen 4, which actually buffed Fly from 70 base power to 90. Therefore, having access to other better flying moves like Drill Peck matters a lot less. First are the Sinnoh games, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. This choice is very easy because the best flyer is not just one of, it is the best team member, at least according to my video, in the Sinnoh games. That being Staraptor. Staraptor's stats are fantastic, with base 100 speed and 120 attack. It will decimate most anything it outspeeds. Additionally, it's extremely accessible, with Starly being everywhere on the first few routes of the game and learning Wing Attack at the fabulously low level of 9. As icing on the cake, it can not only wreck things with its flying moves like Fly or Brave Bird, but it can also get some really nice stab return damage and has the coverage of close combat. The only reason to not use Staraptor on a Sinnoh playthrough team is because you've already done it before and you're changing it up. Staraptor is an incredible, amazing Pokemon that also just happens to be a flyer. Next is Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and like with the previous remakes, my answer is basically the same. Kenya the Fearow. Kenya the Fearow is not just still good, but I actually think it got better. It now gets Aerial Ace pretty early, which is nice, and it has access to more coverage moves. Plus, like I mentioned, Fly is stronger now. It of course still gets the boosted experience, and I just don't think there are any better flyers that early in the Johto games. Okay, an argument could be made for Crobat. As I previously discussed, Crobat is very good. However, Crobat, you have to deal with the friendship evolution, and it doesn't get boosted experience like Kenya does. So those are scores against Crobat, which is making me give Kenya the win. Now on to Generation 5, starting with Black and White, which are in a weird situation because they actually have pretty limited options for flyers. The options are so limited that the only ones available before the 7th gym are Unfezant, Woobat, Sigilyph, Archeops, and Swanna. Woobat has bad stats. Swanna is a water type which overlaps with Samurott if you pick it. Unfezant has stats comparable to Fearow, but the other options are better. That leaves us with Sigilyph and Archeops, and it's really hard to choose between these two. Sigilyph has solid stats, a great ability in Magic Guard, and can be obtained before you reach Fly. The drawback is that it's a special attacker, meaning Fly will be a dead move slot for it, since if you need to do flying damage, you should be using Air Slash. Archeops, on the other hand, has incredible stats and is a physical attacker, so can use Fly. It's well known to have the terrible drawback of Defeatist, which cuts its stats if its health gets below half, but in a playthrough that's much less of an issue since you can outspeed an Oko most anything you're up against. Archeops' biggest drawback is that only it can learn Fly, not its pre-evolution Arcan. This is a problem because by the time you get to Fly, your team is probably not gonna be around level 37, might even be like 10 levels lower depending on how much you leveled up. So you're gonna have to wait in order to be able to use an Archeops to fly. To be perfectly honest, I think both of these Pokemon are awesome to use on Black and White playthrough teams. I've used both of them myself at various points and had a lot of fun with both. And I can't really pick one over the other. Archeops is better in battle, but you have to wait for it. Sigilyph isn't quite as strong, but you don't have to wait. So I think I'm giving this one a tie. Just pick whichever one's secondary typing matches up better with the rest of your team. The sequel games Black 2 and White 2 changed things up a bit though. A big change is that Archeops is no longer an option. The location where you revive fossils, Nacrene City, is now a post-game location. Additionally, 3 new flyers are now available. Well, 3 total, 2 in each game. Crobat and Mandibuzz in Black 2, then Crobat and Braviary in White 2. Okay, there's also Volcarona, but Volcarona is not only a special attacker, which is not a great Pokemon to use Fly on, but it's also not a flying type, so it doesn't get stabbed from Fly, and you really shouldn't be teaching your Volcarona Fly. Crobat is available now because Zubat is found in the Castelia sewers, and Mandibuzz and Braviary are available thanks to the weekly overworld spawn of them on Route 4. Mandibuzz in Black 2 on Thursdays, and Braviary in White 2 on Mondays. This is the only way to get these two bird Pokemon at a reasonable point in the story. Rufflet and Vullaby are like the route before the league, and they don't even evolve until like level 54 anyways. If you want to use these Pokemon, you gotta do this weekly event. Unfortunately, like with Black and White, it's tough to make this decision. Crobat is great for the reasons I already discussed in previous generations. It's fast as hell and hits pretty hard. Mandibuzz and Braviary are also very good Pokemon, with very solid stats right from the start thanks to catching them already evolved. Mandibuzz being fantastic defensively, and Braviary being less bulky but a bit quicker and hitting much harder. And of course, Sigilyph is still an option. But while it's close, I'm able to pick a winner this time, and I'm going with the birds, Mandibuzz for Black 2 and Braviary for White 2. I picked them because Crobat has to deal with the friendship evolution, which is, as I mentioned, annoying, and so Mandibuzz and Braviary, you just get them and they're already evolved. Also, I gave him the win over Sigilyph because of what I mentioned before about Fly being a physical move and Sigilyph being a special attacker. Mandibuzz and Braviary are both really strong, solid Pokemon that will be very effective flyers for your team. I actually haven't used them in a Black 2 or White 2 playthrough yet, and I should get on that. Now on to Generation 6, starting with X and Y, and dear God, there are so many options. One thing I will say though is that Charizard, very solid option. It will be fully evolved by the time you get to Fly, and its two different Megas are freaking incredible, whether you go with the special one or the physical one. If you wanna use Charizard, make it your flyer, for sure. But what about people who don't wanna use Charizard, or any Kanto starter at all for that matter? Well, for you, I'm recommending Staraptor. Crobat is another great option, but the friendship evolution is pretty inconvenient compared to Staraptor's immediate access with easy leveling up. Hawlucha is also another solid option, but its fighting typing overlaps with Chestnut and Mega Lucario. Staraptor will be very strong and fast flying coverage that doesn't have those two limitations, and you can get it before the fighting gym. Finally is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and like with the other remakes, the answer is the same as the originals, Crobat. I know I've railed on Crobat's friendship evolution, but in the Hoenn games, the other options are pretty underwhelming. Plus, the time between getting the Zubat and getting Fly is so large that you shouldn't have to cram for the friendship evolution. You'll have a Crobat by then, I'm like 98% sure. Although it's worthy to note that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire really started the trend of not needing a flyer anymore, because once you get the Eon Flute, you really don't need a flyer anymore. It's slower, but it's also pretty fun. So that concludes my list of what I believe to be the best flyer in every main series Pokemon game. Thank you guys so much for watching, and an extra special thanks to my patrons over on Patreon. We're helping support my channel independent of fluctuating YouTube ad rates. If you wanna help support me in the same way, the link is in the description below. Also, if you wanna check out some more of my fun Pokemon content, I recommend these videos all around me. All right, that's all I have for now. So until next time, big fans, gotta catch them all.